Ever heard of a disease that could make your face glow in the dark?
Oh,
Oh, no,
wow.
I'm not talking about some cool radioactive superpower.
Right.
This is more like, oh no, my jawbone is actually disintegrating kind of glow. It's
Oh,
true.
okay.
We're diving into the history of Phossy Jaw,
Yeah.
a condition so gruesome, it sounds made up.
It does sound like something straight out of a Gothic novel.
Right.
This was a very real and very frightening condition called Phossy Jaw, and it's a story that takes us back to the 1800s.
The 1800s, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so set the scene for us. What was going on back then that could lead to something as crazy as a glowing jaw?
Picture the Industrial Revolution in full swing, with factories popping up left and right, one of the booming industries at the time.
Let me guess, steel.
Matchstick manufacturing.
Matches.
Now, you might not think twice about something as commonplace as a match, but for workers in these factories, they were surrounded by a hidden danger.
Match is a hidden danger. That's wild. Most people don't even know how they work, let alone that they could be dangerous. What was it about making matches that caused this?
These weren't your modern safety matches. Back then, they used white phosphorus, and workers inhaled its vapors day in and day out as they made these matches. It was like a ticking time bomb for their health.
Okay, so something tells me this isn't just a mild cough from some factory dust. We're talking about glowing jaws here. How did breathing in this phosphorus mess with their bodies so badly?
Imagine this. You start with some toothaches,
Yeah.
then your gums get inflamed. Seems manageable, right? Maybe just a bad case of gingivitis. But here's where it takes a dark turn. We're actually talking about a condition called phosphorus necrosis of the jaw.
Phosphorus necrosis. Breakdown of the jawbone due to phosphorus.
Oh, okay, that sounds about as bad as it gets.
It is. Necrosis means the cells in your jawbone are actually dying. Imagine it like a plant being starved of water. But instead of wilting, it starts to rot. The white phosphorus basically poisons the bone tissue, causing it to die off. And the worst part,
Don't tell me.
the effects were often delayed.
Wait, delayed. You mean you could be out of the factory thinking you dodged a bullet and then bam, glowing jaw?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some workers left the factories thinking they were in the clear, only to have this gruesome disease manifest years, even decades later. Imagine the terror of that, this ticking time bomb inside you. That's like something out of a horror movie. Knowing that something you did years ago could come back to haunt you like that. Chills, man, chills. But we have to know, what could they even do about it back then? Were there any treatments?
So we've got this gruesome disease, Phossy Jaw, wreaking havoc in the 1800s. People are terrified. Doctors are stumped. What finally turned the tide? Was there some miracle cure they discovered?
It wasn't a miracle cure in the traditional sense. Remember how we talked about white phosphorus being the hidden danger in those early matches?
Yeah.
Well, the solution was surprisingly simple. They stopped using it.
They just stopped using it.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense,
Yeah.
but was it really that easy? You'd be amazed how often the most effective solutions are staring us right in the face. See, once they realized white phosphorus was the culprit, they started looking for safer alternatives to use in matches. And that's how they landed on red phosphorus.
Red phosphorus, that's what's in matches today, right?
Exactly.
So by making that one change, they basically eradicated Phossy Jaw.
Essentially, yes. But it wasn't just about finding a replacement. It was about changing the entire approach to workplace safety.
Right.
They implemented regulations and forced stricter controls in factories and basically said, enough is enough, we can't let people suffer like this.
Right, because what good is a safer match if workers are still exposed to dangerous conditions? This feels like a pivotal moment in history, not just for workers' rights, but for understanding how our environment can impact our health. So no more glowing jaws, that's the good news. But you mentioned earlier that this whole Phossy Jaw thing is relevant even today. Are you about to tell me there's some modern-day equivalent that's going to keep me up at night?
It's not quite a modern-day equivalent in the sense that it's not as widespread or as severe, but there is a condition called osteonecrosis of the jaw, or ONJ, that shares some striking similarities with Phossy Jaw.
ONJ, that sounds vaguely terrifying. What exactly is it and why does it sound so familiar?
Just like Phossy Jaw, ONJ involves the death of jawbone tissue. However, instead of being caused by white phosphorus, ONJ is often linked to certain medications that impact bone health.
Medications, wait a minute. You're saying that just taking your prescribed meds could potentially lead to jawbone problems? I think I missed the memo on that side effect.
It's not exactly a common side effect. Let me explain. ONJ is most often seen in people taking specific medications for conditions that affect bone health, like osteoporosis or cancer.
Okay, so we're talking about some pretty powerful medications here. But how do they go from treating these conditions to potentially causing jaw problems? What's the connection?
Good question. One of the main culprits is a class of drugs called bisphosphonates. Now, these medications are really effective at strengthening bones, but one of their side effects is that they can disrupt the normal process of bone remodeling.
Bone remodeling. That sounds kind of intense. What exactly does that mean?
Think of your bones like a living structure that's constantly being broken down and rebuilt. It's how your body keeps your bones strong and healthy. Bisphosphonates work by slowing down the breakdown part of this process, which in turn increases bone density.
Okay, so far so good. Stronger bones, that's what we want. So how does this turn into jawbone problems?
Well, in some cases, this disruption of bone remodeling can affect the blood supply to the jawbone, making it more vulnerable to damage and infection.
So it's not that the medication is directly attacking the jawbone. It's more like it's making it weaker and more susceptible to other problems.
Exactly. And certain dental procedures, like tooth extractions, can increase the risk of complications like ONJ in people taking these medications.
Okay, you've officially activated my hypochondriac tendencies. I'm picturing my jawbone just crumbling away as we speak. Should I be worried?
Before you swear off all medications, let me reassure you, ONJ is rare, especially if you take proper precautions and have open communication with your doctor. Remember, knowledge is power.
Okay, deep breaths, everyone. So ONJ is rare. That's good. But I'm guessing there's still things we should be aware of, right? Like, what are the precautions you mentioned?
Absolutely. First and foremost, talk to your doctor, especially if you're taking bisphosphonates. They're the medications most commonly linked to ONJ.
Bisphosphonates, got it. But knowing the name doesn't really help me in a conversation with my doctor. What should I actually be asking them?
Let's say you're on these medications and you need dental work. Anything that could impact your jawbone, like a tooth extraction, that's when it's crucial to flag it to both your doctor and your dentist.
So open communication is key here. Are there specific steps they might take to reduce the risk?
In some cases, your doctor might suggest pausing the medication for a short period before and after the procedure. It's all about minimizing that vulnerability we talked about.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Now, for those of us who aren't on those specific medications, any preventative measures we should keep in mind?
The classics still ring true. Good oral hygiene is key. Brushing, flossing, and regular dental checkups. They go a long way in preventing all sorts of issues, including ONJ.
Right, because who needs extra reasons to avoid the dentist?
Right.
But on a serious note, what happens if someone does develop ONJ? What's the treatment like?
Thankfully, we've come a long way since the days of Phossy Jaw. Treatment for ONJ often involves a multi-pronged approach. Antiseptic mouthwashes help keep the area clean, and antibiotics can combat any infection.
Those sound manageable enough. Anything else?
In some cases, surgery might be necessary to remove the damaged bone and allow for healthy tissue to regrow. It's definitely less than ideal, but the good news is the success rates are much higher now than they were back in the 1800s.
Wow, what a deep dive this has been. We've gone from glowing jaws and matchstick factories to phantom diseases and medications that can impact our jawbone health.
It's amazing how history, even when it seems so far removed from our daily lives, can teach us so much about our health and the choices we make.
Absolutely. If there's one big takeaway from all of this, it's that knowledge is power. We learned about the dangers of white phosphorus and put a stop to Phossy Jaw. Now we're aware of the potential risks associated with certain medications and can take steps to mitigate them.
And that's the beauty of ongoing research and understanding. We're constantly evolving our knowledge and finding new ways to protect our health.
Well said. And on that note, dear listeners, we'll leave you with this thought. What other extinct diseases might be lurking in the shadows? Perhaps hidden in plain sight due to our modern practices. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, take care of those jawbones.